Now, not that long ago, we could all be proud of a traditional set of British teeth. Orthodontic perfection was merely a distant Hollywood dream. Today, though, blinding white, ultra-even tombstone teeth beam out of TV screens, and they're all over the advertising hoardings as well. Now is not the time to boast an endearing, crooked smile. It's probably even less fashionable to have dentures, although 11 million of us in the UK have some sort of false teeth, ranging from full dentures to just the odd one or two. It isn't often discussed, though, and that's why we're about to do precisely that. Dr. Charlotte Stillwell is a specialist in restorative dentistry at the Harley Street Dental Clinic. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Donna Dawson's here. She's a psychologist and an agony aunt. Good morning to you, Donna. This was inspired, actually, by an email we had from a listener who wants to remain anonymous, but I'll read you some of it. She says, being the third born during the war years, my teeth have never been the best. Having held out until my 68th year with one dental implant in place, I find myself in the position of having to wear a small lower denture, or appliance, as I prefer to term it. What appalls me is the lack of research into this area of health in order to make these invasions of the sensitive mouth area more comfortable. The plastic onto which the false teeth are attached is hard and unyielding, and the metal bar linking them is even harder and more uncomfortable, and it appears to me the design and the materials have changed little for many a year. I feel the Almighty owes us an apology for not supplying us with a third set of teeth that come in at around 40 plus. Have you ever dedicated an item on your programme to false teeth, she says. They're still the butt of jokes and likely to be a big turn-off in a new relationship. They can affect the speech and the self-confidence of the wearer. Well, thank you very much to that listener. And it is always worth contacting the programme, by the way, if you'd like us to talk about something you feel you haven't heard discussed for quite some time. So please do feel free to do so. Donna, why is it we have such a difficult relationship with our teeth psychologically?
Well, I think the mouth is probably, in the same way the eyes are, the first thing that people are attracted to visually when they see you. The smile is considered, the way that we socially bond and gain approval. And for people who have problems or embarrassment about their teeth, that will affect the way they project themselves, the way they're socially accepted, and also other people will be able to measure how confident they are. So smiling, being able to reveal your mouth freely, being able to talk without impediment, being able to communicate and therefore gain social stature and approval is absolutely rudimentary to existing as a species.
But this is relatively new to Britain, isn't it? I think, when did you come to Britain?
I came to Britain I was here in 69, 70, and I certainly remember in the early 70s being in a social gathering of people, most of them theatrical, interestingly enough, who were actually berating the whole American obsession with shiny white straight teeth and the fact that most kids, myself included, had braces at an early age, and being very proud of the fact they were British, different, eccentric, individual, and that yellow or crooked teeth were not any kind of impediment to attractiveness.
They were part of our national charm.
How that has changed in the last 40 years.
Yes, it certainly has. And there have been all sorts of impacts on, the sheer amount of money to be made out of cosmetic dentistry. But we can blame Charlotte for that, or perhaps we can't. Charlotte, tell us about the point that the listener made there, that she doesn't feel the technology has really changed. Is she right? What are dentures like these days?
She is probably right in the sense that, yes, I think we still rely very much on how it ever was. We have perhaps better materials that hold up better to what we ask of them. We do have flexible materials as opposed to hard materials, but for a number of reasons, we also have reservations about whether they are in actual fact better, whether they look after the mouth better. Now, your listener, I think, has one tooth missing, is that right?
Well, initially, but now she's got rather more missing.
Yes. Yeah, because for people who have lost teeth, what really becomes incredibly important is to look after what remains, because of course each tooth takes on enormous importance as something that can hold and carry what you are trying to replace.
But what is a reasonable expectation of dentures? Should they be comfortable all the time, just some of the time?
No, they should be comfortable, and you should also be able to go about your daily life without having to think about them. You've certainly not achieved what you're trying to set out to do as someone who's interested and keen in providing good dentures if somebody comes back to you and say, I still think about this every minute of every day.
So if that is your experience, you should go and do something about it.
You should go and do something about it, yes.
Yeah, OK. I mean, what about the showbiz teeth? I mean, they are largely, as I understand it, they're implants, are they?
No, they need not be at all. And in fact, I think if there is something that's new in the removable side of dentures, it's probably that there's quite a lot of what's done for the fixed side of dentures with smile design and smile improvements that we've been able to adopt as well and bring across into the removable dentures. So while we're always striving to find and perhaps get back to what's natural, what's realistic, what preserves your privacy so that you don't give away that the way your teeth are replaced is in some way removable. We can use all those tricks. We can use the same. We can use for those who like it, the Hollywood smile, or we can go for something very realistic. And we have those means now. We have the techniques and we have the materials with which to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder whether our listener is, I think she is concerned, in fact, that because implants are the things that we see around us, I mean, they are the televisual dentistry that we are exposed to, that people are encouraged to have implants when perhaps, I mean, they're incredibly expensive. And because of that, there isn't much focus on improving dentures, which are realistically a much more likely option for most of us.
There's in all of these things, I suppose, there is an everything and a nothing, but there's also a huge range in between. So you need not have either implants or a denture. You could have a mixture of the two.
You can have the two together?
You can have the two together.
And how does that work?
So if you have a partial denture and it works very well for you, but one of the key teeth that's holding this partial denture in place, for instance, is failing, then you could plan to have that tooth replaced with a strategic implant that then will allow that denture to continue to function as it did before.
The cost of that would be for a strategic implant, like the sound of that?
Yes, now that's difficult to put a national average on it.
I know it's hard, but I mean, dentistry is so expensive.
Yeah, let's say that I would have thought that between 1,000 and 1,500 you could have an implant placed that could be put into function within a denture, but I'm reluctant to be drawn on prices.
I know it is difficult. Donna, what about relationships and dentures? I mean, we were talking about this in the office yesterday, and quite a few people were prepared to admit that either they had false teeth or their partner had false teeth. They didn't really want to know too much about it if it was their partner. Why do we not want to see?
I think dentures have suffered over the years with terrible imagery in cartoons and jokes about, the teeth that come out and you use them as a joke to snap at people. And maybe we can even remember our grandfathers doing that, or seeing teeth floating in a glass of water and, yucky imagery associated with it. And I think if you're in a long-term relationship and, you've got to know each other over the years and one or either of you have got dentures, you can kind of accept that. But for instance, if you're bereaved or divorced and you go out again to try and restart a relationship, and you may have dentures and you may not want to reveal that straight away, if at all. You may feel it affects the whole way your prospective partner, if you're romantically, passionately involved with somebody, is going to see you. And so there's become a bit of shame attached to that and a bit of secrecy. And when do I tell him or her that my teeth are not my own? And should he or she ever see me take them out?
Well, to be blunt, is it a turn-off? What do you think?
I think for some people it definitely is. I've been told that it is. And, if you've got a certain image of somebody and suddenly they're there with shrunken gums and no teeth, this isn't part of the romantic image you've built up of somebody else, and it may be something that you want to consider part of your private bathroom routine rather than something you may want to flaunt. I think you've got to be very careful. There are some people who will take it in their stride and others who will be immediately turned off, and I think Christine probably can comment on that as well.
What do you have to say about that?
I think people have that fear. They also often have a fear that if they're going in for some surgical procedure and they're going to be on a general anaesthetic, that they have to remove their teeth for safety. And that can be a real phobia that people carry.
Yes, I mean, it's a loss of dignity, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's something very, very personal.
But we can do things to help. As long as we've spent the time, we know what somebody's worries are, what their priorities are. It's perfectly possible to make it a denture flossable so that you can be, the first day you have a new denture, for instance, if you were caught in the bathroom, you could be caught with floss between your teeth. And most people think, but surely you don't floss dentures. But you can. And we can do all sorts of tricks like that. We can also that's a very important thing that's happened with dentures in more recent years, is that we realise that it's all in how we design dentures. They have a bad name sometimes because you can get a lot of dental problems as a result of wearing them. But now with hygienic principles and with a different way of designing them and allowing people to clean even when the denture's in place, that's made a huge difference.
But what about, we haven't got much time, but that there's a dearth of NHS dentistry, isn't there? I mean, I can imagine that people all over the country will be saying, well, this is very well, I can't see an NHS dentist. I can't get to one.
This particular area of dentistry, probably independent of whether we're looking at national health or private, is just a difficult area of dentistry, full stop. It's one of the most difficult things for dentists to do. You are trying, the more teeth are missing, to put somebody back to how they used to be. And that requires quite a lot of experience. It requires working very carefully with that individual person, and it requires time more than anything else. But often it also requires the skill of your technician to back you up. And I think it's perhaps not so much about can you find this through the health service or privately, it's can you find it? But you can.
You can.
And it's worth looking.
If you try hard enough, and if you've got a few quid, I would venture to suggest. But anyway, Donna Dawson, thank you very much, and Charlotte Stillwell, thank you for coming in this morning. And now, the second